It's a
It's,
mineral.
it's Formica and for.
Well, in my town was a mica mine in my
Yeah,
small town, and we would go up there, and there's lots and lots and lots of mica that it flaked off.
yeah, flake kind of clear stuff. Remember the Formica
Whoa,
cabinets when we were a kid?
we're live, it seems. All right.
All right.
I'm glad we didn't say anything bad. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the broadcast. I'm Bradley J, and this is Micah Engelbert, known also as Micah from Maine, longtime contributor to my radio program. And I don't know if you call this radio still. Maybe this is closer to TV. He's now a regular contributor to this broadcast, for which I haven't really settled on a name. The broadcast. I don't know if anybody has any genius ideas. Let me know. But we're going to talk about trusted traveler programs, and what is that?
Well,
Well,
first of all,
let me give my version. I want to tell my little story.
oh, I got the
What
name of your show.
what is that?
It's
Uh,
Jcasting.
well, all right, not bad. So, trusted traveler program, folks. Have you experienced this? You come back from South Africa or wherever you went, and you come to the airport in Boston, and there's a terrible, terrible line that snakes for yards and yards and yards and yards, and then even as you're in there, you see some other people lined up in a corridor waiting to get into the snaking line that you're already in, and you think, wow, I'm glad I'm not them. And you also think, what can I do to prevent this in the future? Well, there is something you can do. It's called a trusted traveler program, but there's not one. It's not just global entry. There are more. There are multiple. And as it turns out, Micah tells me there are 5. And Micah being an airplane geek, both as a member of Airplane Geeks, the organization, and the larger, in the larger sense, an airplane geek, an aviation geek, knows all about this stuff and is going to share it with us. Look at, I just woke up and my mouth kicked in and it's flapping like crazy. So let Micah speak. The
Well,
trusted traveler programs, Micah Engber.
that's me. And yes, I'm an airplane geek, I say, with both capital letters and small letters. It's a
Great.
good way to
So
describe
tell
it.
them about the organization, the geek.
Well, Airplane Geeks is a podcast, and it comes out every Wednesday. And we have usually a big guest on from the aviation world. Sometimes it's somebody from a major corporation like Honeywell, and sometimes it's an author like Ward Carroll, who wrote the Punk series, a series of books about the F-14 and flying off the coast of Iraq. Excuse me. And I just woke up too, and I think we're doing pretty good for 2 old guys that just got out of bed. So,
Right.
but
Trusted traveler programs.
trusted.
What are the 5?
Well, the whole point of the Trusted Traveler program. What's the worst part about traveling? Typically, and
That's a good question.
if you're
Let's
not afraid of flying, the worst part of traveling is the airport.
Well, that's
It's
maybe
miserable.
yeah, the airport, yeah.
So what the Trusted Traveler program is, it's a way to kind of speed you through the airport and get you either to the gate quickly or get you back home quickly. And they are they're brought to you by Homeland Security. Believe it or not, they're the people that operate them. And the 5 of them, and you've probably heard of them. The first one is TSA PreCheck. There's Global Entry, and those are the ones that most people have heard of. Then there's Nexus, there's Sentry, and there's Fast. And all of these programs will allow you to cross the borders and get through customs. Well, not all of them. 4 of the 5 of them help you clear customs more quickly, and one of them helps you. All of them, again, the other 4 of them help you clear going through TSA PreCheck, and so getting on the plane. And that's the beauty of them. Now they're not free; they cost money. You have to apply for them, but they are great programs. So why don't we go over them
I have
one
a
at a
question.
time?
Are they all U.S. domestic programs, or are any of them originating in other countries?
Well, the Nexus program is a partner program with Canada, and the Sentry program is a partner program with Canada and Mexico,
Okay.
so that it's much easier to cross the border that way. Um, TSA PreCheck is the only one that does not include any kind of a customs clearance, meaning that all TSA PreCheck does, and it's the easiest one to get, is in certain airports. I believe there are 85 of them. Maybe it's 110 now. I can't remember. You may see the lines when you're going through TSA and you're going through your screening, And TSA is the Transportation Security Agency. Some people refer them as the Three Stooges Administration because sometimes the rules change so quickly and they're making crazy decisions. But they're the ones that screen your bag when you're getting on board the plane. That's when you're walking through the magnetic anomaly detector and you're having your bag X-rayed. That's TSA. And sometimes you go there and you see a long line and you just can't get through. But there's some places where they have that long line and then you see TSA pre-check. You don't
Has
have
it
to
has its
unpack
own aisle, its own lane.
its own lane. And with a TSA pre-check, you don't have to take off your shoes. You don't have to take off your belt. You don't have to take off your coat. You don't have to unpack your bag. You just put the bag on the counter. It goes right through. You don't have to take your computer out. You don't have to take your um, uh, liquids and parachute liquids out of there, and it makes it easy. You just go right through the line. So very very handy. It costs $85 for a 5-year membership. You apply online at what's the website? I got to remember that. You can look up Trusted Traveler Program, and it'll bring you right to it. And cost you $85. You have to go through the application process. You pay them the $85. Then you have to schedule an interview. There are interviews available all over. More interviews are available for TSA PreCheck. Then you get your clearance, and you're good for 5 years.
Why
All
would you
for
get
85 bucks.
just TSA pre if you got to have the same basic procedure for global entry? Why not just go for that?
Well, there's two reasons that you might want to do that. First, actually three. The first and the most reasonable is that it's $15 less than global entry. Global
15?
$15. So to
Uh,
me, $15, I'm going for global entry,
Of
right?
course. Jeez, of course.
Because what global entry does is it gives you clearance on the way back in. Instead of having to wait in customs lines, you go to a global entry kiosk, you scan your passport, you're through. Piece of cake.
Ever done it?
But
Are you a member?
oh yeah. Well, yeah, I was a member of Global Entry. I'm not anymore. There's three others that I told you about. I'm a member of one of those.
Okay.
But Global Entry, you have to schedule an interview, and there are far more limited locations for the interview. Much harder to find, and they're usually backed up. So, excuse me.
By the
When
way,
you
we know you don't have COVID
No, I don't. Not anymore.
because he already did.
I already did have COVID, and I'm much better. It's just my typical morning cough, which I always get. But the only side effects I have is that I can't smell, and well, you always knew, Bradley, I had no taste, and I still
Right.
don't have any taste.
And I don't know if maybe you can smell it. Uh, depends on.
Some
Okay.
people say I smell.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at in a nice way. No, that was. I should learn my lesson that never tell a joke. It can only get you in trouble. So what are some of the questions they ask you? I suppose it depends. Does it depend on whether it's the domestic pre-check or global entry?
I've never done the domestic TSA pre-check. I've only done global entry, and the last time I did that was 5 years ago. And this is one of the problems with global entry and some of the others. The interview scheduling is really tough. You have to do it typically at an airport location. You
Yeah.
have to go, you go to Boston Logan, and but you have to see if there's an interview available. Sometimes, last time I checked, like if you lived in the New York metropolitan area, you might be waiting till May to schedule an interview. Um, but then there are other places like I did my interview for global entry up in Holton, Maine. I drove up. It's a 4-hour drive. I drove up there. I could have done it any day I wanted to.
Now you live in Maine, so 4 hours for you would be 6 hours for me, right?
It would be 6 hours for you.
Is it a nice place, Holton?
Holton is right on the border, and it's up close near, not very far from Presque Isle and Caribou, and a beautiful area up in the county. It's
So on
gorgeous
the
up in
border,
the
you
summer.
say by on the border, you mean with Canada?
With Canada, yeah, with Belleville, New Brunswick,
Wow.
and you know, it's the border up there. When you're that close, people are crossing the border all the time. People are crossing the border to go shopping. It's from Canada to the U.S. and back and forth. You have families that live on both sides of the border. So with the border closing, it's been really tough on them.
Okay, so what questions did you answer when? Give me a
Oh, they
couple.
asked me why I wanted to get global entry and if I was a U.S. citizen and basic things like that. It's just basically a conversation. You don't even realize you're being interviewed really when it's
Do you have
happening.
to provide some sort of documentation?
You need to provide your passport. You need to provide another ID, and they take your fingerprints and they take your pictures. Now, I just recently, let's go over some of the other programs because then I can go into my most recent experience, which was last month. There's also Global Entry gives you TSA pre-check. It comes with it, and it also gives you the entry back into the USA. And I also want to tell you a secret about Global Entry interviews when we get to that. The another program is Nexus, and that's the one that I just got. I had Global Entry because I didn't know about Nexus. It's kind of a hidden program that they don't talk about much. People don't understand it. Nexus gives you everything that Global Entry does. You got TSA pre-check. You can enter the USA and cut through the customs line, but also if you go to Canada regularly, there's the same clearance through customs into Canada. So it's just like having global entry for the US. Nexus gives you global entry for the US and that same quick entry into Canada. You don't have to go through a customs line when you're entering Canada, which makes it very convenient if you live up by the border.
I see. Nexus.
Nexus. And the other good thing about Nexus is it's not $85 like TSA pre-check, and it's not $100 like global entry. It's $50.
And it does everything technically, but is it as seamless as global entry? Is it completely recognized by all the machines?
Absolutely, totally seamless because it gives you global entry.
Oh, I see. So global entry is kind of under its umbrella.
Right. It's part of the Nexus program.
So what's the downside of Nexus? Why wouldn't everyone do Nexus?
Because you can only interview for Nexus at a Canadian border crossing, either in Canada coming back or in the USA at the Canadian border crossing.
Well, that's closer for me than Holton, Maine. That's 3 hours and a half instead of 6.
Exactly. But if you were going to do that, if you needed global entry or TSA pre-check, I would tell you, take the drive. It's a beautiful drive in the summer and get your Nexus interview. But there's one more caveat.
Oh, no.
With Nexus, yeah, is that the Nexus program interviews, because of COVID, had been closed for 2.5 years. You couldn't get an interview. Wasn't available. So couldn't get one. No way.
What about
and
now?
I was locked in that situation for some time. And when you go to apply, you don't know that it's closed because of COVID. All it says is the interviews are full. It's a real downside to the website.
Well, is it still closed? Is it still full?
Well, it opened up.
It opened
up on November 29th. And then it closed again on December 15th.
So it's closed.
It closed again. Yeah, I just caught the window. I just made it. And now it's closed again.
So you got Nexus and global entry? So because you went to Holton, Maine, did you also do the Nexus one?
Well, I got Nexus. I should have actually pulled my card out. I could go grab it, but we're on the air. Nexus includes global entry. I had global entry. Oh. It expired, and I renewed with the Nexus card. And my interview was...
Your interview in Holton was for Nexus.
The Holton, which was interesting, when they opened up the border, the interview sites, they opened them up on the U.S. side of the border. So the Holton crossing was closed because it actually takes place just across the border, 10 minutes, not 10 minutes, 30 seconds. You can see the border crossing across in Belleville. But because it's in Belleville, it was closed. I drove to Calais, Maine, because the border crossing there is on the U.S. side of the border. And my interview went like this. I see you had global entry. Why are you applying for Nexus?
Right.
And I said, I'm applying for Nexus because it gives me the same thing as global entry, and it's $50 cheaper, and I get a lot more than what I would get with global entry. They said, well, how do you know that? And I said, well, there's this website that I read, and it's called Johnny Jet at johnnyjet.com, and all that information is there. They said, well, I wonder how
you're an aviation geek.
Well,
that's really the reason.
Yeah, no, he said, well, how did you know that? How did Johnny Jet find out about it? I said, well, that's really simple. I wrote the article. And the guy laughed, and I explained it. All the information is there on the Homeland Security website. You just have to find it. And we talked, and that was the interview. We chit-chatted. It was a couple of great people, really super folks. And finally, I wanted to get back. It's starting to get dark. This was 3:30 in the afternoon, way up north in Calais, Maine. It's starting to get dark. It's a 2-lane road. And I said, don't you have to take my picture and take my fingerprints? They said, yeah, let's do that now. And I got out. I was 10 minutes. I drove 4 hours for 10 minutes to talk to these great Homeland Security border agents. and drove back.
Do
It
you
was
have
all done.
any don'ts for the interview? Like, don't be drunk, don't
Yeah.
yell at the people. What
Just
else?
be your normal,
Don't be
hopefully be your
yourself. I
normal
don't know if
self.
that's a good idea. People say be yourself, but we all have multiple selves. We have our Sunday go to church self. We have our card playing self. We
Well,
have
these
our
guys are trained in intelligence and security checks is really what they're doing. It's a security check, and that my security check was them having that conversation with me.
right
So that's how they're going to find out about it anyway. And the other great part, I'm driving back to Calais or from Calais. I'm 15 minutes away. See my email, click on my phone. I was approved. It was done
in 15 minutes.
in 15 minutes, and the card arrived 3 days later from Washington D.C.
And have you used it?
Not yet. I haven't traveled in a while, but I'm going to be using it in February with any luck. I'll
Tell us
be headed
about
to
your
the
trip, your
UK.
planned trip.
Well, there's as part of the Airplane Geeks podcast, we became friends with a number of other podcasts, and one of them is called Plane Talking UK, and it's a group of guys that run a great podcast over there. It comes out, they do it live every Friday, and it usually comes out on Sunday, and it's live on YouTube. You can actually watch them, very much like you. And they are celebrating their 400th episode in February, and they're going to have a big celebration over there in Brooklyn at the Brooklands Museum, which is an aviation museum just south of London. So me and a friend of mine, friend of mine, Brian Coleman, who is the associate producer of the Airplane Geeks and has also been a guest on your show, he lives in Pasadena. We're traveling together. And I was going to fly from here in Portland to Chicago. He was going to fly from LA to Chicago and meet there. And that didn't quite work out because all the flights got changed and canceled. So now, and this is kind of the exciting part for me.
And this is also where you're proof that you're a super airplane geek. This is the wait till you hear this, folks. Micah is traveling extra long. He's going the super long way around because he loves airplanes. Am I right?
That's true. I'm flying from Portland, Maine to Newark, New Jersey. Then I get on a plane in Newark, New Jersey, and I could fly from Newark directly to London, but I want to meet my friend Brian. So I'm flying from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco. And then from San Francisco, I meet my friend Brian, who's flying up from LA, and then we cross the pond, direct San Francisco, direct to London. So it's, and I get to leave an hour later. If I would have gone through Chicago, I would have left at 6 a.m. Now I'm leaving at 7:15 in the morning, and I get into London a half an hour earlier than I would have had I gone the other way.
And you're flying in luxury, correct?
I'm flying business class. Yep, that's not a secret. I'm flying in United Business Polaris class, which is even one step higher than regular business class. And I figured if I flew from Chicago, I was going to have to sit in the airport for 5 or 6 hours waiting for my planes. Might as well sit in business class at a luxury airplane and have a lie flat seat, be able to go to sleep and have my free drinks and have dinner served to me and all those wonderful things.
So you want to get more bang for the business class. You want to enjoy it longer. And I get that totally. I
absolutely
completely get it. Tell me, I've never been in business class. What's it like?
Business class international business class and cross-country business class is it gives you lie flat seats where it's a little suite. You might remember, you walk down a plane, you see business class, and you still see this on short domestic flights. They're just wider seats. They're big seats. They're like, big living room lazy boys. And that's what you find on, short domestic flights. That's what I'll have when I'm flying an A320 from Portland into Newark. But once you get on the plane, it's going to be a Boeing 777 from Newark to San Francisco. It's your own little suite. You got a 12, 14-inch screen and for LCD screen with all the entertainment in front of you. You have Wi-Fi for free. You have your USB connection so you can charge your phone. You got a little table. You got a place to put your feet up. And if you want to go to sleep, the seat lies down. It's not a recliner. It lies flat. It becomes a little twin bed. And you can sleep on the whole thing. And you're
best thing about
separated from everyone.
You feel like a king.
You certainly do.
You feel like a king. I've never done that, but I did fly Mint in JetBlue one time to Vegas and back because I went to Vegas for one night, and mostly because I was going to be able to experience the Mint thing, and it is fantastic. Although I don't know if it was a lie fly seat, but I didn't want. Here's the thing: I did not want to sleep because I wanted to enjoy all the perks. I mean,
exactly.
Why pay all that money and go to sleep?
And Mint on JetBlue is the best U.S. business class or available. There's none better. United, American, Delta, nobody has a better product than JetBlue Mint. And I've talked to some people that are travel writers. Somebody just flew Mint from London to the USA for the first time, and he said, "My gosh, it's the best I've ever had." And he's flown Singapore. He's flown all the good travelers. It's
Wow.
the he really loves it. But you have been looking at a trip as well that we've been talking about. That you were talking
Yes.
about business class, and it was again, even if you don't, if it's not a place you want to go, based on that fare that's available, and we found, and the class of service, if you can find it, gosh, Bradley, you need to
So,
go. I don't know if you want
yeah,
to talk about it.
Micah found a really, really good deal on business class, which it's such a good deal you almost have to go if that's where you're at. And I'm looking into it. It's also one of the only locations which is going the right direction COVID wise right now. The what are the sticking points are well, you know what, I just need to find the entry requirements. I've been looking for the entry requirements to this country and I haven't found them, but I'm guessing that it's the same as anywhere else now. It's pretty, you need a negative test and you need a vaccination card. And generally countries have some other form you need to make out to find you. Like Italy had a Euro passenger locator type of form, but maybe
Yeah.
South Africa doesn't care. I don't know. There might be something else. Maybe you have to get a test when you get there. That's like, do you have to quarantine upon arrival? That's something that would be kind of a buzzkill.
Well, typically the quarantine upon arrival is, at least I know the way it was in the UK, which is where I'm going to, and this has changed now. Is you're supposed to quarantine until you get your test results, and that's a Scouts honor kind of thing, that you're going to quarantine. So you're not really checked on that
So how long
if
of
you
it?
know you're clear.
How long does it take to get the test results? Is it a
In the UK,
rapid
it
20
was
minutes, right?
it was PCR and it was up to 2 days. They've just changed that. I just heard about this last night. Actually, it's late breaking news that the UK test they're allowing for what in the UK they call a lateral flow test, which we call the rapid antigen test. Takes about 15 minutes, and you need to schedule, or you should schedule it at the airport for when you arrive, and you can schedule it right at the Heathrow Airport website. And that's what I'll be doing once I know for sure that everything's clear and they haven't canceled everything.
Did we, did I cause us to skip over any information on the Trusted
Well,
Traveler
there are a
programs?
couple other programs. You need to be a U.S. citizen for the Global Entry program. You need to be a U.S. or a Canadian citizen for the Nexus program. The third program, or one of the other programs, is called Sentry, which you can be a citizen of any country. It's $120, but the interview sites are on the southern border. That's the one that we're partnered with Mexico with. Um, and then there's
Century.
Sentri, and then there's Fast, which is for commercial truckers, so that they can just cross over the border without just having to wait and be inspected. They can go through a line. If people want really more information about this, want to understand what it was like to do my interview, learn all about the programs or the links to all the programs, if you go to johnnyjet.com, Johnny's a travel writer, great guy. Johnnyjet with yeah, just I think it's one T, johnnyjet.com. And you look up my name, you search my name, Michah. I wrote 5 articles for him about these trusted traveler programs and the interviews and some of the hints for the interviews. In fact, Global Entry, if you can't schedule an interview before you go, if you return from your overseas travel through certain airports, when you go clearing customs and you're talking to the guy, you can say, "Can you do my Global Entry interview now?" And they will. So
Really?
it's
So can you say that again? Because that seems like a good
okay.
thing.
Yeah, it's a
So
great
so
thing.
you do that at that you have that interview right in the U.S.
In the
return spot.
US, when you return. Yep.
So you've been in the long line. There's people waiting, snaking around the whole big giant hall, and you can say, "Wait, stop everything, sir. Can you do my global entry interview now?"
Right. Right. If you have to check and make sure your airport supports that.
Yeah.
But if you do that, and you can find that out when you go to schedule your interviews, um, they will definitely do that for you. And again, if you
Can
want
you?
to
What
find
do
out
you?
where
So you schedule it upon your return. You have to
you
schedule it.
you schedule your interview um, when you go through on the online application form, and you can only do it online. You schedule your interview, and you can schedule it and see if they have one on a return trip.
If there's like maybe a box, check.
Right. You see
I
what
see.
airports have it available, and you do it that way. Let me see if I can find the link right here. Um, there's a system called enrollment on arrival.
I see.
And when you interview for global entry, you check a list of available airports.
Logan is
Uh,
one.
Logan is one, and you go about your travel. And you make sure that when you return, you clear customs in one of those airports. Again, Logan is one. I believe Denver has one. Is one. Uh, BIW is one of them down in Baltimore. And when you return, you're clearing customs. You have all your papers with you, your global entry and stuff, and you ask if you can have your interview done right then. And typically, they'll say absolutely fine.
And you
But you
say
can
all your papers. What are those papers?
well, you want your passport. You probably want your driver's license too, because I want to check that out and
Yeah.
make sure they verify it. And you have your global entry enrollment number in case you need that. I would, print out your form, because you have to set up um, when you go do the Trusted Travelers program. You have to you go to a certain form that you have to fill out and go through all that. You have to create a login.gov account. It's not that complicated, but again, if you go to Johnny Jet, it's JOHNNY, JohnnyJet.com. Look up my name, just search by Michah, and you'll see all the articles. And in those articles, I made sure to put links to everything, so you can click on the link and go right there.
Now, have we covered the whole topic? If we have, we can move to your Airplane
Yeah,
Geeks podcast and tell me who's coming up.
um, this week we have a travel writer, brilliant travel writer. Her name is Bené Wilson. She's written for several different magazines, and right now she's with The Points Guy. And I think I've sent you some links from The Points Guy. That it started off as just a guy that collected travel points, hotel points and airline points, and was always offering the best deals. It still does that, but it's become a huge uh, travel writing organization. And she writes for them, and she's going to be on this Wednesday. This week, who do we have on this week? I haven't heard the show this week yet, to be honest with you, so I can't quite remember. But he does air racing. He's done air racing. I remember that. Let me just pull this up right here. Where am I now?
Do you do
There we go.
points? Are you a points person?
I do points with IHG, which is a Holiday Inn, and I actually am a member of their credit card program. It costs me $49 a year, and it's the only credit card I've ever paid for. But the reason I'm willing to pay the $49 a year is because it gives me one free night a year at any Holiday Inn in the world. So for $49, I'm getting $100 room.
Have you used it?
Oh yeah, I get one every year. I've always used it every year. And then they've even, because of COVID, they've held it over. I think I have 3 in reserve right now. They
Huh.
were usually, if you don't use it by the end of the year, they take it away from you. And then there's another, and I think with a change, they have another credit card program, or you can update that program from $49 to $89 a year. And the reason I do that, you still get the one room a year for free, but if you book using points and you book 3 nights, they give you a 4th night free. So again, for $89, a 4th night in a hotel where I'm going to be spending a minimum $125,
Yeah.
it ends up being a bargain.
A long time
Um,
ago, I would, make sure to sign up for the frequent flyer programs for all the airlines, but I found myself kind of being held hostage, and that's the idea, to that
yeah,
airline. And I decided it's not worth it, especially since they would jerk me around when it came to cashing in an award. The amounts kept going up, the blackout dates, and it became a pain in the neck trying to, and then get credit for your miles. This is back before the internet, I guess. So I didn't do it anymore. I said, I'm not going to be held hostage to this. I'm just going to go on whatever airline is the cheapest and not
and that's
bother
what
with.
I usually do too.
But
But
hey, let me finish my story. Then what happens is everywhere I went seemed to end up on the same flights. Flight like 53 and 52 on Swiss Air to Zurich to connect, or through Lufthansa, and they're partners. So I was missing out. Probably 10 flights I didn't get the points for, and I was an idiot. In that in at least that area. And so now I've signed up again with Lufthansa because for some reason I always end up on that airline. So there you
And
go.
there are a lot of good partners because Lufthansa, I believe, and I can't remember what there are like three major points partners, but Lufthansa, I believe, is partnered with United. And I was just going to say that Brian Coleman, who I'm going to the UK with, who's been a guest on the show, he's a huge United points guy. And he's flown so much, he's got 2 million miles with United. And he's doing a mileage run to pick up more points so that he can get up to the 3 million miles, which gives him some extra credits and stuff.
So a
And so
mileage
it's
run means he's flying just to get the miles.
just to get the miles. He found a great deal where he's flying from where he lives in LA to Cape Town, South Africa. He found a deal in just regular economy for like $800 to do this, and he's going for 2 days. He's going to spend 2 nights there. He's been to South Africa before. He has friends, and then he's coming back because he just needs to pick up these extra points, and it's going to end up working for him for years to come.
But does he doesn't use the miles?
Oh yeah,
Obviously.
he does. He does. That's how he's going to the UK with me. He's using the miles to travel first class or business class from LA to the UK with me.
So what
He
does he
used
get? What do you get when you get to the 3 million mile mark?
You get it's kind of like with the Holiday Inn when you go for the $89 card, you get the extra miles. When you redeem your miles, you get extra points to redeem them, extra miles to redeem as you redeem the miles. It's
So
a crazy system
you
now.
get miles for using miles.
Miles for miles. Yeah,
It seems like it's is it a pain to keep track of?
I think so. I was a member of, well, when Continental Airlines was around and the points just started, I collected Continental points and I had a marvelous number of points. It was great. I had so many points, and for my folks, I think it was their 35th anniversary, maybe their 40th anniversary, I sent them round trip to Paris first class just on
Wow.
points.
Do
And
some
this back
people do some people hoard points and they don't want to use them, and it's just this weird number in their head they get off on knowing that they have a lot of points?
for some people, they really get into that. It becomes a real passion. I had for a while, I had over 1 million Holiday Inn points, and I wasn't using them because I didn't have any place to go. So when I got my first iPhone, that was paid for with Holiday Inn points,
Huh.
which was very cool.
How many points?
I can't remember what it was. It was just a ridiculous number, and value wise, it wasn't very good. It would have been cheaper cash wise if I
To
would have
buy a
bought it, but
phone.
I wasn't using the points. So,
Yeah.
you know, why they eventually they devalue the points. They're worth less. You need more points in order to do something. So I figured I'd use some up,
I
and
hate that.
yeah, but I still have close to 3/4 of a million points in my Holiday Inn, and if I go to one of my next trips I'm planning is to go to the Farnborough International Air Show in July, which is in Farnborough in the UK, and the best hotel near there is a Holiday Inn, and I hope to use those points there if they'll let me.
Okay. What activities do you have coming up if they are not whacked by COVID?
Well, as I said, in February on the 23rd, I'm leaving for the UK via San Francisco, which is again crazy,
Yeah, but what
and
else?
and then I'm hoping to head back to the UK for the Farnborough International Air Show in July, and then the Udvar-Hazy Center, which is part of the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. Every year, usually the Saturday before Father's Day, they have innovations in flight. And this is a huge family event and a children's event that helps with the STEM programs. And we usually go down there as part of the Airplane Geeks and record a live show. Well, live to tape show from right in front of the Enola Gay and get some interviews down there. And we have a big meetup and hang out together. And it's the only time during the year that all of us, because the Airplane Geeks are a group of 4 or 5 people from all over the country, where we get together and meet each other. So that's hopefully going to happen in June. It hasn't happened for the past 2 years, and we're hoping they're going to be able to put that together should this clear up. But I think what we're going to see with COVID, to be honest, is that it's no longer going to be a pandemic. It's going to be called what they say is endemic. It's going to be part of the world, and we're just going to have to learn ways to live with it.
Yeah. One final question: if you could fly in any airplane, present or past, even if it's one that doesn't, there are no working models of it now, what would you fly in?
Oh, there are so many I'd love to fly in. What comes to mind right now, I would love to fly in an old P-38 Lightning, that twin-tailed devil it used to be. It was designed by Lockheed around 1939, 1941. It was an incredible fighter in World War II, and it would go so fast that it was having trouble with compression and almost breaking the sound barrier. It would go so fast with propellers, and they couldn't break the sound barrier with propellers, but it came really close, and it's a real fighter plane. Unbelievably maneuverable.
I'm surprised you don't become a glider pilot, because that's pure. That's like pure aviation right there. Like the the aerodynamics of the thing, the science of the thing. Seems like that would be something you would do.
Never been able to, never flown in a glider, and I'm not sure if I haven't found the opportunity or the location. Although I know there are places nearby, and I'm not sure if my weight would be a disqualifier for it. It might for a parachute,
A
skydiving,
parachute?
skydiving. Yeah,
Ah,
there's a
so
weight limit for
well,
skydiving.
actually, as far as the weight goes, the trainer that is the most common, I believe, weighs 600 pounds, and I think that the total, including an instructor, is 400. I think, because I know that if the instructor is heavy, there are multiple instructors. One of them's kind of heavy, and when you go with the heavy one, you have to be under 170, which I am not.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
I would need to find I need
a
to find probably
80-pound instructor,
yeah, something like that.
because you're a tall guy.
Yeah, no, I'm 6 feet and I'm 240.
Wow. So you'd need a
I need a 160 pound,
160-pound.
yeah,
It's
instructor.
probably doable. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
if I could find a teenager.
this has been great. So we'll say goodbye now, and not be live. And after we stop being live, do you want to book next month?
Sure.
All right. Thanks, folks. Please share this and sign up for all my social media stuff. And you know the drill. And bye all. We'll be clear here in